Welcome to the MoneyWise Channel. And on this channel, we're going to talk about inspirational events and a lot of great money things, And always remember that success goes to the person that holds on after everybody else has let go. I'm going to give my reaction to what I saw, and may it leave you inspired to push through whatever you're going through, or to get up and go after your goals and dream big. Today, we will be talking about an artist by the name of Juicy J. And this interview that I saw, he was speaking on his label, not knowing he was signed to him. So I'm going to call this video Juicy J's interview on his record label, not knowing he was signed to them. So before we get deeper into the interview, I want to tell you guys something about Juicy J. For the ones that don't really know who he is, we'll give you some background on him and then bring you up to what he said in an interview. All right. So first of all, his real name is Jordan Michael Houston. That's Jordan Michael Houston III. He was born on April 5th, 1975 in Memphis, Tennessee. He's a rapper, songwriter, record producer, let's say super record producer, and also a record executive. Earlier on, he read many books. He speaks about he read many books in middle school about marketing in the record business, publishing, and royalties, which was a little odd for how young he was. People were surprised how much he knew about the business, but he was really deep into it. And the reason was because he looked up to a fellow Memphis, Tennessee artist by the name of Al Bell. And for those that don't know who Al Bell is, he was the co-owner of Stax Records in Tennessee. Now, if you don't know who Stax Records is, I'll give you some of his artists. That company's artists had people like the Staple Singers, Isaac Hayes, the Emotions, the Dramatics, all those big groups like that. You can Google them. They were pretty big groups back then, and they were on Stax Records. So Al Bell was a co-owner of that. And then he also went on to become president of Motown Records. When they became Motown Records Group, he became the president after they had to sell, when Motown sold to MCA Records and they came together. He became the president of that. So he looked up to Al Bell and had a relationship with him, seems like. So he knew a lot about the business. He knew the ins and outs, like I said, about marketing, publishing, and recording and royalties. So that makes Juicy J a little different than the average artist, because he knows the business. So you have to remember, in high school, he wrote a song called Slob on My Knob, which is funny today. But he wrote that song and he made sure he owned it, owned the publishing, and owned everything about it, which this will come back up again later in his story. But he wrote that and he made sure he locked everything up, that he would own it. And that's when he was in high school. And he went to high school at North Side High School in Memphis, Tennessee. And that's where he wrote the song. Many of the kids that went to school with him knew about it because everybody was singing it in his school. So everybody knew that he wrote that song. So when that song came back forth in the future, everybody was excited for him, because this is before he was actually famous. So in 1991, he co-founded a group called 3-6 Mafia with DJ Paul and Nick Scarfo. They started a company called Profit Entertainment, and they started recording albums independently, and they dropped albums like Mystic Styles, Chapter 1, The End, I think 2 or 3 albums. And then they worked together for a while, did shows. And then I think about 1997, him and DJ Paul decided to leave Profit Entertainment and go start their own company called Hypnotized Minds. So they just end up letting Profit Entertainment stay with Nick, and then they moved on by themselves. They gave him a little bit of money, and they all parted. Now under Hypnotized Minds, they put out like 8 albums. Had other artists with him too, like Project Pat and different ones. So around 2002, he finally put out like his own solo album. Jay put out his solo album, and it was called Chronicles of the Juice Man. So he put that out, and he enjoyed that being out. And him and DJ Paul continued to work together even when they did their solo projects. They're more like brothers. They just continue to work together. So in around 2006, because like I said, they were so into the business and how Jay, he constantly was, staying close to the business. In 2006, he got nominated for 3 6 Mafia. He got nominated for an academic award, and they won it in 2006, and they won it for Best Original Song. And the song was, I believe, It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp. I believe that's the song they won it for, and it was the Best Original Song. So you can, once again, you can Google that, look it up, but I believe that's the song, It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp, and it was in a movie, and they won the award in 2006, which was a big deal. And so like I said, they always handled their business, and they kept everything going well, so they was able to make that happen. And then 2007, it was June 13, 2007, I believe, A$AP Ferg ended up dropping a song called Plain Jane. And when he dropped it, it had the sample from Slob on My Knob, which Jay had wrote when he was in high school many years before. So in 2007, this song hit the Billboard and blew up. So Jay ended up getting like 40 to or over half, I believe, of the percentage of publishing from the song. So he got some of the masters, and I believe he got some of the publishing. And the only reason he was able to do that, because earlier he had already read up on it, and he made sure he kept ownership. See, a lot of people want to go back and forth about, should you keep ownership of your publishing? Should you keep ownership of your master? Should you keep ownership of these things? Yes, you should, because that's what's going to continue to pay you. So he kept that, because many would say, oh, you don't need to keep that, you don't need to keep that. Well, he kept his, and years later, that song ended up paying him big again. The song is by A$AP Ferg, and it's called Plain Jane. And they sampled that song by Jay, and he got money out of that again. So that's why ownership is important. Don't let no one say you shouldn't own your stuff. They're playing with you. That's the Jedi trick. They're like, it's okay. Don't listen to that. Keep ownership of your stuff if possible. If you just can't, then you just can't. At least try to keep a piece of it if you can't keep all of it. So in 2012, he secured his major record deal with Columbia Records, which he was very happy about, because after winning his awards, after putting out all these albums, you gotta think how long it took for him to finally sign a major deal in 2012 by himself. You gotta think how long he was in the industry, how long he was working, being distributed by Red and people like that, that's under major labels. But for him to finally sign his own deal with Columbia Records, solo artist, that was a big deal, and that happened in 2012. And this is the thing when you guys hear me talk about the tipping point, 10,000 hours. You got to continue to do something. If he was doing it since he was a kid, and this didn't happen till he was an older man, you got to look how long he went, how long he was in the game, how long he pushed before he got the deal. So he finally signed the deal in 2012. He signs it, and it goes quiet. Because now you got the deal, nobody's pushing nothing, nothing's happening, nothing's really happening. So now he's got his own deal. It's not connected to the group. It's just him, and it's just getting quiet. He's won the award. It's getting quiet. So he's sitting there. So what he does is he gets in touch with a producer called Will Made It that does beats for people. And has him send him some beats. Then he calls this guy and says, just grab a microphone, and it's like a basic $100 microphone. He goes in the bathroom, hooks it up to the laptop, and he starts playing beats, and he finds one, and he's like, I like this. It's more of a slow beat instead of a big bouncy beat. And he had that bands will make him dance in his head, and he found a slow beat that Will Made It did, and he started saying it over and over and over, recorded it. Once he recorded it, sent it back out to everybody, and then they start taking it to the club, in Atlanta, and it started blowing up. All the clubs was playing it, everybody was playing it, going crazy. It was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, till finally Columbia Records A&R start hearing about it in the club, like, this song blowing up, we got to try to sign this artist. So they go running trying to find Juicy J, and they find this attorney, and they ask his attorney, like, well, what do we got to do to sign Juicy J, because we want to bring him over to Columbia because he hot, we want to bring him to Columbia. And they're like, the attorney's like, what Juicy J said in the interview, he said, my attorney was like, what are you guys, dumb? He's already signed to you guys, which is bad, because this shows you how major record companies don't be thinking about you. People want to rush to get in a deal with people, and they're not even thinking about you. They don't even know you're already signed to them. This is insane. And this is not a little artist. This artist has won awards, got many albums out, and sold a lot of records. He's sitting on there, and they don't even know. They didn't even call in to check on, to see what was going on, or do. This is just silly. So finally, they get through the embarrassment. They sit down with him, they talk, and finally, they put the album out. And the album with that single on it is called, I believe it's Stay Trippy, and it came out like August 23rd, 2013. So it was a whole year later they dropped the album on Columbia Records, and it does very well, hits the Billboard and debuts and does very well. So, I just want to say, proud of Juicy J, man. He went through a lot. He pushed himself. He stayed focused, did his 10,000 plus hours and more, worked his butt off. He went through a lot of different stuff, and he kept his head right and kept pushing. Proud of him. I believe at this point, when I looked to see, his net worth was $25 million. That's coming out of Memphis, Tennessee. So we want to salute Juicy J. Keep making them dance, man, and keep throwing them bands. And for everybody else, stay excited about life. We'll be dropping more videos to inspire. Faith without works is dead. Remember, keep your eyes out for the small things as you're doing the big things. Juicy J had no problem going in the bathroom and recording on a $100 mic after he had won awards and recorded on $1 million mics. You got to stay focused and keep pushing. Even though he had a major record deal, he didn't mind going small to go back big. So like and subscribe to this MoneyWise channel for more wisdom in the future. And remember, the plans may change, but the goals stay the same. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Yep.